Jason Lamb,
Here.
Sean Pritchett,
Here.
Mark Williams.
Approval of consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Goes first.
Second.
And a second. Roll call.
Robert Cole,
Yes.
James Davis,
Yes.
David Good,
Yes.
David Green,
Yes.
Harmon Hardin,
Yes.
Stan Howard,
Yes.
Jason Lamb,
Yes.
Sean Pritchett,
Yes.
Mark Williams.
We'll go over here to the addendum first. Yes. We're gonna move over to the addendum. On the addendum, the number one will be discussion action regarding approval of additional invoices.
Right. You got that. Yeah. Really what you should do is read each one of those off.
Federal invoices, IDEA, Amazon for supplies, 401.88. Carl Perkins, subscription, 1,500. Title I, Amazon supplies, 241.43. And Title I, Amazon supplies, 487.25. On the general fund on Amy Anderson for $1,120 for coordinated school health. Arthur Bigham, $23 for travel. Bishop Otto, $594.62 for transportation. Bishop Otto, $45 for transportation. Burgess's, $70.30 for maintenance. Burgess's also $12.78 for maintenance. Burgess's $7.96 for maintenance. And Burgess's $147.16 maintenance. And Burgess's $25.46 maintenance. Ginger, is it Molan? Molan, $100 for travel. And TNT battery, $170 transportation. That's all of them.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Cole,
Yes.
James Davis,
Yes.
David Good,
Yes.
David Green,
Yes.
Harmon Hardin,
Yes.
Stan Howard,
Yes.
Jason Lamb,
Yes.
Sean Pritchett,
Yes.
Mark Williams.
Mark's gonna mute.
Mark's muted.
I didn't hear him, but I saw
You
his
see,
mouth.
yeah. He was on the, number two, discussion action regarding approval of buses to sell. Would you like to elaborate on this?
Yes, when we had bus inspection, we had buses that did not pass inspection, and I'm going to read those off to you. A 2002 bus number 9 was out of service and did not pass inspection. 2002 bus 21 was out of service. 2000 bus number 27 was out of service, did not pass inspection for being past the years and rust in the floor. 2005 bus 19 was out of date. 2000 bus 24 was out of date. 2005 bus 97 was out of date, and 2000 bus 45 is out of date. Permission to, and I'm looking for permission to sell these buses. They are of no use to us any longer, and this comes from Charles McClure.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
How many of those? We had 2 that were actually in service out of that whole group.
Yes.
Okay.
That must be replaced. All right, roll call, please.
Robert Cole,
Yes.
James Davis,
Yes.
David Good,
Yes.
David Green,
Yes.
Harmon Hardin,
Yes.
Stan Howard,
Yes.
Jason Lamb,
Yes.
Sean Pritchett,
Yes.
Mark Williams.
Yeah. Okay, okay. I just asked you to go to it. Number 3, discussion action regarding approval of governor's recommendation of school closing.
Board members, I'd like to come back to that. My 2 specialists that are working with that are Dr. Bell and Dr. Goodman, and they're going to share some things with you in just a few minutes. So we'll come back to that in just a few.
All right, let's go to number 4, discussion action regarding approval of Mr. Jerome Smith to make raised flower beds at Copper Basin Elementary property.
I'm just going to read the
Harmon,
letter.
could you repeat that again?
Yes.
Can you repeat that again, Harmon? I'm sorry, you could.
Yes. Discussion action regarding approval of Mr. Jerome Smith to make raised flower beds on Copper Basin Elementary property. He has it.
Did everybody get that? Mr. Pritchett, did you get that?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yes. So I'm just going to read a letter to the board members from Mr. Smith. Dear board members, I'm requesting your permission to build additional raised garden beds at Copper Basin Elementary School in our current garden section. These will provide us additional growing space for vegetables and to add flowers as well. These beds will allow for better concentration of efforts for maximizing the growth of crops. The flower beds are intended to attract various pollinators such as honeybees, hummingbirds, butterflies, and so forth. We were fortunate to experiment with and succeed in cross-pollination of corn last year, producing homegrown ears of peaches and cream corn. As you know, peaches and cream is a hybrid seed, which I didn't know that. But with cross-pollination, we used open pollinated seeds and honeybees to do our work. This was a big hit with the students. Therefore, I'm asking permission to build more raised beds in our gardens so more vegetables can be grown for food and flowers can be added to attract pollinators and beautify our gardens. Thank you for your consideration of this request.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Do I have a
Second that.
Which one? Any more discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go
Well,
ahead.
why would that, this might sound off the wall, but why would that require board approval?
Anytime we change the property and the property appearance, we're supposed to get board approval for that.
Okay, I got you.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Robert Cole,
Yes.
James Davis,
Yes.
David Good,
Yes.
David Green,
Yes.
Harmon Hardin,
Yes.
Stan Howard,
Yes.
Jason Lamb,
Yes.
Sean Pritchett,
Yes.
Mark Williams.
I vote yes.
I heard you that time. What is it?
Lynette, do you? Oh, here they are.
Number 5, discussion action regarding approval of Chilhowie Middle School to purchase interactive flat panels, Title I funds. Any information?
So the newest and greatest things are interactive flat panels, and Chilhowie Middle School is wanting to get a jump on this. They're wanting to use Title I funds to purchase these interactive boards. We bid this out, and Mr. Howard was here when we went over this. Stan, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I was there for the bid opening, and the ranges were quite large. We did get a very good bid on a model that they already have in service, so there wouldn't be a whole lot of new training on it. It was a good bid. Wasn't the lowest, but it was probably the second, third lowest, and it was what we already had, and I think that's what they decided to go with, and it looked very good to me.
Okay.
Is this for classrooms or just how many is it for?
This is for classrooms. This is for
Okay.
18 boards, 18 wall mounts, 18 installation. It's 18. and all the services.
Okay.
that go with it.
Good deal.
Also training.
Also
Yeah,
training, yeah. And that amount is $48,510.
So is this to replace the Promethean boards that's mostly in these classrooms?
Add to them. Add to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Right, yeah. Oh, do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Cole,
Yes.
James Davis,
Yes.
David Goode,
Yes.
David Green,
Yes.
Herman Hardin,
Yes.
Stan Howard,
Yes.
Jason Lamb,
Yes.
Sean Pritchett,
Yes.
Mark Williams.
Yes.
Number 6, discussion action regarding approval to shop for buses with Charles and enter a lease/purchase agreement. 4 buses are needed.
All right, so that's me again. So when those buses didn't pass inspection, we realized that we're going to have 4 new buses or 4 buses to replace those. I won't say new. We don't generally, it's kind of like buying a new car. You know, when you drive them off the lot, you lose quite a bit of money. So in years past, we have been doing lease purchases on used buses. And we found out that works pretty well for us. So Charles is talking to you can't just go out and buy a bus. There's only 1 or 2 companies that even sell buses in the United States. But Charles is talking to a guy that has a 2018 71 passenger conventional bus, a new 18 passenger handicap bus, and 2 2018 regular passenger buses, and for a total of 4 buses. And we'd like to start entering that agreement, which will take a while for us to work on the paperwork. They generate the paperwork in the form of a lease agreement and then send it to us. And then we have to get board approval and county commission approval, and then we get it back to them. Then we do a down payment, and then we start our yearly payments with those. But what I'd like is for your permission to start getting serious about entering this, because used buses are very, very hard to find. And I'll be sharing that paperwork with you as we go, but I need your permission to enter that process. Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Robert Cole,
Yes.
James Davis,
Yes.
David Goode,
Yes.
David Green,
Yes.
Herman Hardin,
Yes.
Stan Howard, Jason Lamb,
Yes.
Sean Pritchett,
Yes.
Mark Williams.
Yes.
Number 3. Come back over the information, water samples and all that stuff.
Let's take care of water sampling and then we'll come back to, because both those are going to tie together.
Okay. Step back over to the information on your agenda. The water samples required by state law. Tommy Fraser is here.
He's not here. So if we were having a regular board meeting, Tommy Fraser would be here and do a spiel, and he was not able to make it tonight. But I will tell you that state law now requires all school boards to do a water testing program in each school to test lead levels. And we did accomplish that test, and our lead levels were good. But what I'm going to do is push that out a month so that Tommy can come and talk to you about that further as an information item, because he has all the tests and the results, and his plan was to do a little spiel for you. So we'll let him come and talk to us about the details of that next month, if that's all right with everybody. Is that good? All right, go ahead, Tom.
Do you want to go to number 3 or is it up there? Back on the addendum, on number 3, discussion action regarding approval of the governor's recommendation of school closings.
So I'm not going to get started talking about this because you know I love to hear myself talk and I'd still be rambling 12 minutes from now. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bell and Dr. Goodman, and they're going to take over for just a few minutes. Please listen closely because this is pretty intense information.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Jones. I'm actually going to share my screen and pull up a draft that we've been working on. So you guys can see my screen now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is a draft that Dr. Goodman, Dr. Jones, Mr. Swafford, supervisors, principals, teachers, we've all had discussion about this. And of course, this is the part where everybody stops listening and reading what's on the screen. But the first paragraph deals with the school closure recommendation. And that's what one thing to understand is that it is when the governor made the suggestion, it's actually just a suggestion, and then local policy has to dictate that we're going to do that, which that's something you guys can talk about here in just a second. And then the second paragraph deals with the state board meeting. So that's just the weird timing of this. So the governor made his suggestion, and then the state board had a meeting to talk about some emergency policy that they needed to figure out what to do, like adjusting graduation requirements, for instance. And then, of course, we have the school board meeting tonight. So the grading policies that we talked about, we had a lot of discussion about this, about what's equitable for everybody, what's fair for all students across the board. When I say equitable, we've talked a lot about, access to things via internet or packets or things like that. But the bigger issue is equitable instruction. And that's something we've thought a lot about, and how to make that even across the board. And then, of course, dual enrollment courses are a little different animal as well. That's that last bullet on there. We talked, Dr. Jones, you want me to mention about the new dates as well in that last paragraph, or is that something you want to talk about in just a second? No, you go right ahead. So another thing that we talked about was, normally in a normal school year, you have a cutoff date to where, we have a date where people can turn in work or kind of set grades, because you always have a couple of days there at the end of the year where you have to work on that sort of thing. So that's what we came up with, that date, that May the 22nd is actually the Friday. It's the Friday before Memorial Day. And then our last day on the calendar is May the 27th. So that would be our last day officially still, but we would just have the cutoff for work that students wanted to turn in. So that's another thing just to circle back to. So that's one thing that our policy says, is that we're allowed to make up work if the students were failing the class. So if a student's not passing the class, they can bring their grade up to passing. But if they're already passing the class, that's where we're just stopping the grades at that point. Just going back to the equitable access piece that I talked about. Dr. Goodman, you want to add anything else?
Not necessarily to that. I feel like you explained that fairly well. I was going to mention the events, since that's something we've been working on as well to go along with this.
Can I interrupt you just a second, Dr. Goodman?
Yes.
Dr. Bell, would you go back just a little bit and talk to them about the participation part instead of the grading part? Will you hit participation one more time, please?
Sure. Yeah, that's, we're wanting to continue the education process as best as we can. I've used the phrase a lot these last few weeks of, I used to like to say we're building a plane in the sky. It's a saying I like to use, but I think now we're literally in the air trying to figure out how to fly with nothing around us. So it's been a lot of planning and thinking and trying to figure out what to do. But we just want to keep the access available as best we can. And that's, we want students to continue to learn. We want teachers to continue to teach, which they have. I mean, I can't brag on teachers enough, honestly, for the work and time they've been putting in, and kids too, students as well. They've been working hard, and everybody's everybody knows we've been thrown a curveball and we're just trying to do the best we can with it. But, we're going to value feedback on the work more so than an actual numerical number at this point for the last 9 weeks to Q4, just because, like I mentioned, you have such variety in what, what's equitable. You've got kids that are sharing devices at home. You've got kids that don't have internet at home. You have kids that are having to work for whatever reason. Their parents might have lost their job. There's so many factors out there. And that's what, just at the end of the day, we all talked about with the supervisors and principals about how we just didn't think, that was equitable playing field across the board for all the students.
Thank you. That's good. You can imagine teacher frustrations right now, because throughout the history of what we do as a school system is demand students, that to do this for this grade, and they get it graded, and they get this grade on the grade card. And it's a very hard concept to go from getting a numerical grade to participating and hoping that learning flourishes. So teachers, hang in there. We appreciate what you're doing so much. The rules change every few days, and y'all have done a great job. I'll brag on you. Dr. Goodman, can you take over for a minute and talk about events?
Yes, I was actually going to show the events page. Dr. Bell, can you put it to where I can share that? It's not letting me share it right now. We went, it's been about 3 weeks now. Once we realized, about 3 weeks ago, we were like, this is probably going to be something that's going to be longer term than maybe what we originally thought. So we started thinking about the events, those milestone events.
You should be able to share now.
Okay. That each school thought was important. So we started coming up with the list, and a couple of them you already may be familiar with because they've been out there, but some of them, if you can see my screen, like Copper Basin High School, the graduation, that one, you can see the original date and then the alternative decision. So we're just going through each school to determine those milestone events that we know that's important to the students, to the teachers, and to the community for us to have. And we're still planning on holding those, but depending on, the steps that we take from here on out, exactly what time it is, some of these still say to be determined just for that factor. But if you look through the list, you can see there are some that are scheduled, and there's several, especially once you get middle school and elementary, they're still working on a lot of that, especially since we just found out last Wednesday with the governor, making that recommendation close school for the year. So I just want you to know that we are still working on this, and we do plan to have these events.
Good. Dr. Goodman, I'm glad you said that. I want to underscore that all these events are very important in students, parents, and teachers' lives, and they will happen. It'll just happen at an alternate date than what we're used to. Is that right, Dr. Goodman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much for sharing that. And we will be posting that page, but that page will have to be filled on in as we go, and as we have these discussions with principals, and principals have those discussions with the teachers. We'll fill in that calendar as we can as we move forward. Okay.
A lot of those will, I guess, be whatever the governor's decision is too.
Yeah, he leads a lot of that
Yeah.
decision. And so what I guess I want now is board approval to accept the page that Dr. Bell was giving us, so that we can start to spread that out to the community as far as school closure and what's expected of students and what's expected from teachers and parents, so that we can keep the community informed now that things have changed as of the governor's announcement.
one question, and
Yes.
I hope Dr. Bell could just clarify this. I know I've gotten a lot of feedback from parents and teachers about the no new grades and the Q4. And I know that's because of inequity, but at the same time, I get the question that is it not even more inequitable to allow a failing student to get higher, raise a grade than a non-failing student? And I'd just like Dr. Bell to give his soliloquy on how that works, and hopefully that they can understand better why we can't let non-failing students increase a grade in Q4 when we can allow us failing students to do so, that may be facing the same inequities of access to internet and things like that. So if Dr. Bell could just kind of clear that up for everybody that's listening. I know a lot of people that are watching the board meeting may want to hear that explanation too.
I hope I don't have to say it in iambic pentameter if you want me to do it as a soliloquy.
Whatever you'd like to do it as. Maybe I used the wrong word.
I can do Shakespeare maybe, but no, I mean, that's one of those we've talked a lot about, and honestly, that's part of the state board language as far as the failing, and I think that came from the suddenness of what happened to where they didn't want a student punished in that sense to where they could not get a credit, to be able to make up their work in that sense. The biggest part of that question is, I know what you're asking is the students who, are going to do things and not be able to get credit for it. And that's a big piece of the inequity talk that we've had. And I know that I probably can't say something to where everybody universally is going to agree on this, but it's one of those where we've talked so much about it, and we just feel like that, that's the equal thing to do. And just because, if a student can improve their grade, and that factors into rank and, class rank and honors and that sort of thing, if one student is able to improve their grade, but another student can't improve their grade for whatever reason, going back to that equitable access piece I talked about, equity to instruction, then that's shifting those two students apart, even though you're, in your mind, you're only shifting one of them forward. But if you're moving one of them forward, you're really keeping the other one stationary, and they have no control over that, in that scenario. And I know that's not going to be every student, but it's going to be, it's going to be some students, a good portion of students. I know a lot of students that are having to work right now. I mentioned that earlier, that they're working full time. They're deemed as essential workers, and they're trying to make money for whatever reason. So I hope I answered that as best as I could there for what you're asking.
I meant synopsis instead of soliloquy. Sorry about that. But as they say, your character is revealed by what you do when people don't see it. And I think our kids' character is being revealed on how hard they're working, even though they may not get a benefit from it.
I agree, and we've talked to a lot of teachers about that, and about the hard work kids have been putting in. So like I said earlier, I can't brag enough on the teachers and the students for how they've handled this situation.
Mr. Bell, let me ask you a question. Would the third quarter be the basically, will it be it, or will it's going to average with the first semester also? How's that going to work with that averaging?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for K-8, that would be an average of the three 9 weeks essentially. For the high school classes that are on a semester, that would be just for that one 9 weeks, if that makes sense.
Hey, what about like some of the seniors? Like my daughter has what is his name? Can't think of his name right now. But she had 2 classes that she had to get in, and like I say, government and civics. That's it. And she got in half of it. Well, what about the other half? She's been doing it. I mean, that's the thing. But is it going to count, or is she going to have it to graduate, or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's actually something the state board addressed. So actually in their emergency policy that they did this year, they actually lowered the graduation requirements for students like that didn't actually meet in that class per se. So Your daughter actually doesn't have to have econ and government to actually graduate now. That's the state board lowered that policy.
So she'll just keep the first half of it that she actually did get a grade 4. She'll keep that as far as her grade point average and stuff for her ranking.
That is
She
correct.
just won't get to count the second half.
Yes, and actually, we actually cut the ranking off after the third 9 weeks anyway, so that's not going to affect anybody's ranking per se. It's just a matter of the grade itself.
Okay.
And of course, we encourage everybody. Like she's in a scenario where she wouldn't actually get a numerical grade for that, but she may learn some things hopefully that carries on to the rest of her life, and we hope that her and any student would take that out of what's happening right now.
What did they lower the credits to?
They lowered the state credits down to 20 because the state.
We need to adjust ours.
Yeah, they went from 22 to 20, right, Dr. Bell?
That's right. Sorry, I thought y'all were asking me a question there.
So,
Yeah,
we need to adjust ours here in our county, our credit ranking, for our kids to graduate. We need to drop, what is it, 28?
Yeah, so ours is 28 because we're on block scheduling, so they can get more credits. So what the state board essentially did is they lowered those 2 credits I mentioned earlier, to where they took out they made it in a more generic sense, to where it used to be listed specifically that you had to have certain classes like econ, government, U.S. history, world history. Now they just have it like a shell, to where it's just 2 social studies, 2 science, 4 math, 4 English. So instead of getting more specific like that. So I'm not sure. That's a question for y'all. I don't know if we have to adjust our policy on that in these.
I think we'll have to adjust our policies.
I was going to ask that, Dr. Bell, do you think that maybe in the next board meeting, we should have an agenda item saying that we're reducing the number of credits from 28 to 26? I think that's probably a good idea.
For this school year?
For this
Right.
school year?
Yeah.
Will our next meeting come before the scheduled graduation date?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know they got rid of the second reading on policy, so we could approve those in 1 reading.
That's if it's.
Yes, they did, Stan, that's a good point. It doesn't.
You're right. May 11th, their next meeting.
We could, James, do you want to get those policies together and maybe do a called meeting in 2 weeks and approve those policies?
We can do that.
Yeah.
A special call board meeting in 2 weeks from tonight.
Just to deal with policies?
So that would be probably more like a workshop, right?
Yeah.
We'll have a board
We would need,
workshop.
I think we still need to vote on those policies, though. I think there was about 5 that the TSBA sent us that we would have to amend a little bit.
Yeah.
But
So I
they got
tell you
rid of
what.
the second reading so we could get them passed, especially as far as payment of employees and things.
All right, so we probably need to have a workshop in 2 weeks from tonight, and then immediately following that workshop, a special called board meeting to vote on those policies, and one of those will be reducing number of credits for this school year, right? Everybody good with that?
That sounds good.
And the workshop will be at what? 6 or 6:30, and the meeting at 7?
Or
6 or 6:30? It's up to you. 6:30?
6:30. 6:30.
Yeah, we'll just go over those and whatever.
30.
We'll get recommendations from the state on how to word those. And 2 weeks from tonight, we will have a workshop at 6:30 and then a special call board meeting, vote on those policies at 7 o'clock.
So Monday, May 4th.
Monday, May 4th, is that right, Harm?
Yeah, May 4th will be 2 weeks out.
Monday, May 4th.
Okay.
And we'll do it just like we're doing tonight, if that's okay with everybody. We'll send it, Dr. Bell, you could probably get us an invitation sent out. Is that right?
That's right. What was the date that we agreed on?
May 4th.
And will that be 2 separate invites then, one for the workshop and then one for the board meeting?
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
And Dr. Bell and Dr. Goodman, probably Mr. Swafford too. Y'all need to be here on that night too.
I know that one of the things that also need to be approved was a policy about the pay for employees. So that
Yeah.
we got to look at that also.
Yes. I'll get with you, Stan. We'll talk about those policies here in a day or two.
Good, thank you.
Go ahead, Harmon. We'll go to, is everybody good with that? Are there any more questions about it? That was a pretty big mouthful. But are there any other questions or comments? Okay.
Update on school nutrition program.
Yes.
Would you?
That's me.
Yeah.
School nutrition program. So one of the most amazing things that
do we
we
need
saw in this whole process was the way that we needed to continue to feed our students and the way that everybody responded to that idea. It was amazing. I mean, I've not seen that kind of enthusiasm in a long time. And it's great because we were still able to get that food out to so many people that needed it. Everywhere from kitchen employees to bus drivers to people handing out food. It's really been a fantastic thing to watch. We plan on trying to continue that program until school's out. So we don't have a summer feeding program. We've not had that in the past, and I don't see that happening for this summer unless something miraculous changes. But it's been a very, very successful program, and a lot of people have benefited from it. I've probably gotten more compliments on that than I have any other thing that we did all year. So
I talked to a bus driver today. It said it's growing. He gets more kids every week.
Yep.
Added to the list.
yeah, it started as a fairly small number, and it's just kept getting larger and larger because people talk about it. And I know that parents are very appreciative of it. And I am appreciative of all the hard work that went into it. Jill Nix worked, I'm telling you, 18 hours a day trying to get things in order. And all the people that were willing to help. I know I had supervisors involved. I had board members involved, teachers volunteering to get on the buses and hand out food. It's just been really, really great. Really great. And I'm glad that we will continue this until we're unable to continue it. But I just wanted to, are there any questions about the food program or comments that you'd like to say? Mr. Stan, you might want to say a word. You were down there at South Polk quite a bit. What was your vision of the whole thing?
Extremely hard workers. I'll tell you, all the staff pitched in, and they've been, I mean, if you see hundreds of bags going out, and I think I was there till about 2 o'clock today bagging milk for Wednesday's delivery. So it's quite a process, and I'm sure people don't realize just how hard these people work, but I do now. And I'm very appreciative to all our cafeteria workers, our teachers aide, our teachers, everybody's there, bus drivers. So my thanks, and I know the board thanks goes out to all those folks participating, and they just really done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
So on the number 3, we need to vote on off the addendum on number 3, regarding approval of the governor's recommendation for school closing. I need a motion. In a second.
Motion to approve.
I need a second.
Second.
All right. And then roll call.
Robert Cole,
Yes.
James Davis,
Yes.
David Goode,
Yes.
David Green,
Yes.
Harmon Harding,
Yes.
Stan Howard,
Yes.
Jason Lamb,
Yes.
Sean Pritchett,
Yes.
Mark Williams.
Yes.
Everyone, review board policies for April 6.100 through 6.402. If you have any questions or suggestions for revision, please contact the director of schools and speak with him. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
A second?
Second.
So be it. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody be safe.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
See everybody.
And
Thank y'all. That was good, wasn't it?